Hey guys, this is Dan with Gears and Gadgets. Thanks for tuning in. I wanted to talk about the 2021 Fords and the production issues they're having, which isn't just exclusive to Ford. It is a problem in the automotive industry in general with the microchip shortage, or chip shortage as you hear it called. And while I do think that I'm getting closer to the end of my 2021 F-150 order, I'm only saying that based on hope, because as of today, my date currently says October 31st for delivery, and I ordered this in mid-March. So it's looking like formally it's a long time out, but in this video, I kind of want to talk about some of the frustration as somebody who ordered one is going through. And to those of you out there who have watched these videos and I see the comments like, dude, just be patient, the truck's coming. I have no problem waiting. But at the same time, there are some issues that need to be talked about. And because I have this platform, I kind of want to try to be a voice for those that are on the forums right now who there's a lot of them and they just feel like nobody's at the helm at Ford. And again, I'm sure this isn't just exclusive to Ford. I'm sure there's similar stories with other manufacturers, but I'm only speaking to what I know. So today I did drive out to the rail yard here in Phoenix. It's almost 45 minutes away from my house. I just wanted to see what was going on out there because I have heard speculation that these rail yards are full of vehicles and that they're just kind of parking these things all over the place. And I wanted to see for myself. So I did go out there. We'll get to that at the end of this video. I also hit a bunch of dealerships on the way home and just wanted to see what they had in stock. So we'll get to that too. Now, the way this whole thing went down, in my opinion, could have only really happened in one of two ways. And that is that either Ford didn't totally understand the critical path of their manufacturing process in terms of these semiconductors, to the point where when the pandemic hit last year and they put orders on hold or canceled orders altogether with the semiconductor manufacturers, not realizing that that was going to have this ripple effect down the road. At the same time, they were launching this all-new Ford F-150, which is the best-selling vehicle, at least here in the States, that you would think they would at least make sure they had those modules available, that if things were to pick back up again, they wouldn't really miss that beat. So either they totally misunderstood it or they did completely understand it and just made a horrible error in deciding that it wasn't that important. This is not just a matter of, I hear people say, oh, there's, these trucks are parked in parking lots and they just need to get those chips in from TSMC or Intel and pop them in the trucks. And it's not that simple. It's more complex than that. There's an entire supply chain of module manufacturers. So you have these boxes that these have to get made. There's little chips in here. This is what the microchips go into, is these little boxes. So these don't come from TSMC and Intel like this. These boxes, this was made in Malaysia. This is another one, a Bosch module. So these things come from all over the place. So it's a matter of, again, not understanding the process. If Ford was aware of those modules needing that sort of lead time on manufacturing and then just didn't prepare for it, even in the case of a pandemic, you would think that these modules may be costing, I don't know, hundreds of dollars in the grand scheme of production, that they would just have these things saying, these are a necessity. We cannot cancel these orders because if we don't have them when things pick up again, we're in trouble. It just seems to me like that's something that should have been heavily discussed in a boardroom somewhere. And I don't know, seems like they were just all caught, again, either not being aware or being aware, and either way, unprepared nonetheless. So doesn't look great on any of these manufacturers, and it's just a total mess. So now, speaking to this as a customer, somebody who actually went into the dealership, put $1,000 down, ordered a truck, and has to wait, this is where I want to talk about the process. This is where I want to talk about these manufacturers. And again, I'm just talking about Ford because it's who I'm dealing with right now. I'm sure it's similar with other manufacturers. My thought process is that there should just be so much more information available to the point where customers aren't just kind of sitting around waiting with no information, or even worse, rapidly changing inaccurate information, which is even more frustrating. The process for me was I went in, put the $1,000 down. A few weeks had gone by, and then you have to email the dealership. It all depends, because obviously the dealership that you're dealing with, it could be different if you go a couple miles down the road, let alone if you go state to state. They're all independent dealerships. So if you get a good sales guy and they're really on top of it, the day they get a VIN number, they're emailing it to you, they're texting it to you, or you have to email them and text that. There's a lot of having to go get information as a consumer that in today's day and age, you place that order should be tied to an email address, and you should start getting information from day one as it starts becoming available to the point where you don't need to call your dealer a million times to get that information. It should just all be pretty automated at this point. So once you get that VIN number, you do get a customer tracking site. That gets you real excited until you realize that customer tracking site is a very Mickey Mouse version of the actual evolved information that your dealership has. So you really go to this point where you're kind of just crickets. Your dealer gets to the point where they're not going to check your order every day. There's no incentive really, aside from incredible customer service, to do that. Kind of a lost art. So you end up taking to the forums, and that's where, when you're dealing with not getting a lot of information and you have to go to the forums, you start to feel like you're getting something, and it's really hard to pull out of that and go, oh, wait a minute, these are all other people who have no idea what's going on. And you just go down that rabbit hole. I went down it. I see a lot of other people going down it, and it's pretty crazy. So the first thing that I saw, which I shared on this channel, and I got crushed in the forums for doing it, was a gentleman in the forums that was actually sharing order information. I found that, and I thought that was some sort of secret insider information. I thought it was the greatest thing I ever saw, until I found out that's the exact same screen that your dealership has. So instead of reaching out to some guy in the forums that you don't know, you can actually just be text messaging your sales guy every week saying, hey, can you get me a screenshot of that information? So again, to find that in the forums as if that's some sort of secret insider information is problem number one. So then what you end up doing is you start analyzing window stickers. You can find a lot of dates and information. There's a blend date. So I saw mine was 4/27. So that blend date, the way I understand it, again, because Ford doesn't give you any information, so you're just being fed what you're being fed, is that date is the date that they decide we have all of these parts and pieces slated for your vehicle and it's going into production. When you get that blend date, that's when you assume that that truck is built in parts. It's not assembled yet, but the parts are assigned to it. So here I am a month and change later, and there's been no update that the truck's been built. There's been no update saying that it's delayed for any sort of particular reason. It just has been in production for a month and whatever, when in all reality, it only takes a couple days for it to go through the line. So as a customer, yes, that's very frustrating, because you look at that and say, in all reality, it's probably waiting on some sort of module somewhere. I'll get to the modules in a moment. There is a way to track sort of those modules, but then you get into this JSON tracker. There's this code you can basically look up that will show you a whole bunch of what looks like you've hacked into some Ford database, but really all it is a much dirtier version of the customer forward-facing module that tells you what's going on with your vehicle. You really think you found something awesome, but in all reality, you just found kind of more useless information, and you're just further down that rabbit hole. And then that's where I get to the modules. Then you can find this website that, I don't know how people are even finding this stuff, but you can find the actual modules that have been put into your vehicle. There's dates there, which actually my dates do match close to the blend date of my truck, assuming those all made it in there. And then there's a couple modules that will say null. And people are looking at that saying, oh, my truck is missing these 3 modules. Problem with that is that people have taken delivery of their vehicles and they're like, yeah, mine says all the same things. It says null, 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 and everything works. Again, just more bad information that makes you feel like you found something great, but you didn't. Back to speculation. And this is what's frustrating to me, is that I know these vehicles, every time they go down that line, there are these codes that are on every one of these things. There's barcodes, there's all kinds of information on these things that get scanned as they go in the vehicles, and they can pretty much tell you right down the line what's going on with that truck. And I don't know why they don't. Again, it's 2021. You should be able to pretty much follow your vehicle right down the line, and it's something that they're going to have to get better at, because I think the first manufacturer that does that and makes people feel like they're a part of the process is just going to kill it as far as customer satisfaction goes. So to get into the numbers of what it is that I saw today when I went out to the rail yard, and again, this rail yard is in the serving Phoenix area, if you're interested to know what market it is that I'm sharing with you guys. They had 44 F-150s. A lot of them looked to be similarly spec'd to what mine was. Now, that is a very sensitive area to fly drones in because it's actually over by the Air Force Base, which on the weekends doesn't actually operate as far as a controlled tower. So that airspace opens up. And then also being a rail yard, you really can't be flying over top of the rail yard. And then there's also a residential area there. So I basically had like one sliver of land that I could fly over while zoomed in to maintain legitimacy in flying drones. As a drone pilot and as a YouTuber, I feel responsibility on this platform to do drone stuff responsibly. So it looks like they're starting to move trucks. Hopefully mine's in that batch somewhere. Hopefully I'm making a video in the next week or two, but it's also possible not till October, so who knows. Now, looking at other manufacturers that were sitting out there, there is a whole lot of Toyotas sitting out there. So if you have a Toyota on order right now and you're waiting for something, it looks like there's a bunch that are just kind of hanging out there that are in the middle of waiting for transportation. So I don't know if Toyota doesn't have as much of a problem with the processors and they're just not needing to move vehicles quickly, or if there is some sort of bottleneck there to get those vehicles out. Ford, it seems like when they're coming in, they're getting them right out to the dealerships. So interesting to see that, to say the least. Now, Peoria Ford, which is right down the road from that rail yard, had 9 F-150s that I saw. Continued on down the road, Bell Ford had 1. AutoNation in Scottsdale had 7. And then Chapman Ford had 4. Now, those are just kind of the local inventory numbers that I saw. I don't know if you guys know what's going on in your neck of the woods. This is, again, just in the Phoenix area. I just wanted to share that with you guys and let you know. So, guys, that is the update on the, I guess, Ford F-150 customer chaos that I guess I would call it right now. I just wanted to make this video, kind of bring to light what I've been going through. My truck is, again, a mid-March order. So guys, again, thank you very much for tuning in. If this is your first time tuning in, please hit that subscribe button down below. Remember, likes go a long way to help support the channel. I'll see you guys next time.